Hey guys, welcome to my channel, The Bookstore on Fiction Street. Before we start this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and yes, press the bell notification item to be notified about my next videos. You can choose to be notified for all of them or selected few. Okay, now let's begin. So, as I said, on my Instagram, if you don't know, my Instagram IDs are given in the description below, so you can follow me from there. I have announced that I will be starting a series every Friday. I am going to read you all a ghost story. So let's begin our series of the Spooky Friday, shall we? Ghosts always has fascinated us. Are they in there? There's always a question if they exist or not. Here, I have found this book. It's a book I've gotten in a book fair. It contains few real life encounters with ghosts. So, let's begin. This is a collection of real encounters with ghosts and spirits. The story or the real life encounter I'm going to read you today is The Ghost That Knocked on the Door. So, the author says, this real life story is about a friend of mine who died in South, but his spirit traveled to Delhi and knocked on a door. Quite interesting. Let's see what's happening. Mr. L.N. Sastry, not the real name, was a retired government officer, humorous and well informed. Sastry enjoyed the company of his close friends who, like him, were also retired government officers, and met every evening in one of the park in Mayur Bihar Phase 2 in East Delhi. They talked about politics, skyrocketing real estate prices, inflation, and also Telugu literary work. He is from South, so Telugu literary work, scriptures and mythology. Sastry took particular interest in moral aberration of rishis and gods and managed to give a good-humored erotic bent to topic under discussion. I used to call on this small group of Andhra retirees occasionally. Sastry was easily identifiable from a distance in his red shawl in winter, which he wrapped around his kurta-clad tall figure. Sastry had worked in government organization in Delhi. After retirement, has acquired a DDA flat in Mayur Bihar Phase 2 in the national capital. He had a son who was working in semi-government office. His daughter was married and living somewhere in South. Sastry developed ailments common in the old age and received treatment for the same. The ailment occasionally caused concern. He used to visit his native place, Vijayawada, every winter, thus avoiding the extreme cold of Delhi and also fulfilling his annual obligations of visiting his close relative. During one winter, while Sastry was in Vijayawada, he fell ill. The doctor was called and he advised his immediate admission in the hospital. On admission, he was taken to ICU. What happened? The doctor said that it was a case of severe heart attack and that all his relatives must be informed. His son in Delhi was summoned immediately. Sastry's condition deteriorated as hours passed by. Sastry's son Vijay, again the name is changed, got the news of his father's serious condition in the night. Vijay had no ready cash to book railway tickets for himself and his family the next morning. He therefore thought of borrowing the money. Who could have enough ready cash to and lend him? Obviously, Narayan Rao, his father's friend who lived in same locality. Vijay met Narayan Rao and appraised him of his predicament. Narayan Rao promptly gave him the money and said, I am sorry to know that Sastri is ill. Please book the berth for you and your family in the morning. Let me know about his health as soon as you reach there. Vijay booked a berth in Vijayawada bound train the next day with the sum of 3,000 rupees that he had borrowed from Narayan Rao. When he reached Vijayawada, he came to know that his father had died the previous night. That's so sad. Thereafter, he got busy with preparation of the last rite of his father. With a heavy heart, he lit up the pyre of his father and returned to his maternal grandmother's house, where he and his family had camped in the evening. So his father died, and he didn't knew about it. What happens next in the story? Let's see. He was sitting in the drawing room talking to his uncle and relatives about his plans to visit Varanasi with his father's ashes and immerse them in Ganga. He heard his maternal grandmother calling him to herself in backyard. The tone seemed to be odd. It's not like hers, he thought and said, Yes, grandmother, I'm coming. As Vijay approached his grandmother, he saw her lying on thick mat, not in her usual posture of reclining. Her eyes were wide and red. She was not batting her eyelids. What did she saw? Son, I want to place my head in your lap and rest, said she. Why is she getting so emotional? He thought. Yes, she is upset since father's death. Moreover, she is overcome with age. He explained himself as he sat down and placed her head in his lap. She addressed him again in her usual tone. Son, when you return to Delhi, repay those 3,000 rupees that you borrowed from Narayana promptly. Not that you will not repay, but I want it to be least delayed. Wait, what? He never told anyone about the 3,000 rupees. How does his grandmama know about this? Oh no. Vijay was aghast. He had not tell anyone, including his wife Savitri, that he had borrowed any money from Narayan Rao. And how could grandmother know about the exact amount? Yeah, exactly. She was also not familiar with Narayan Rao. Okay, grandmother doesn't know about Narayan Rao. She may have heard his name from mother, but not about the borrowed money. Moreover, grandmother never intruded into the financial affairs of his son-in-law and his family. That's right. Yes, grandmother, I will repay it, said Vijay, and was about to add, How have you come to know about it? When he noticed her posture. She was lying on her right side, feet bent, her left hand fiddling on her wrist. Was it not the recumbent posture of father? Wondered he. Did grandmother ever lie in this posture? He could not recall, but anybody can rest in this manner, he convinced himself. So he convinced himself again. Vijay looked at her eyes. They still didn't bat, and they had become redder. Grandmother, are you all right? He asked as he felt her wrist. It was not feverish. Then he asked, Who told you about my borrowing money from anyone? She didn't reply. Yes, his father was indeed very particular about repayment of money. Is remembering his father. How would you feel if somebody to whom you lent money in emergency didn't pay it back in time? Remember that your creditor too would feel same way if you delayed the payment, he used to say. Let's not both your collection and payment over now, was it motto. In the meantime, Savitri, his better half, whispered in his ear, Are you still doubting? It is not your grandmother speaking. It's your father himself. Savitri, the grandmother requested, Please give me a glass of coffee. Father liked coffee prepared by Savitri. It was only she who made coffee for him. Yes, father-in-law. I will make coffee for you, said Savitri as she hurried towards the kitchen. Vijay was flabbergasted, a rationalist. He never bothered about ghosts and spirits. But how could he explain the present miracle? Grandmother shouting the information that only he knew, and that too mimicking his late father. Sabitri bought a steel tumbler steaming coffee, holding a napkin and handed over to grandmother. Grandmother half lifted herself, looked the napkin-wrapped tumbler into her hand, and began sipping semi-black liquid by grasping the brink of tumbler with her lips. It was strange, the way she was drinking coffee. She was in the habit of pouring water or coffee into a slightly upturned mouth and swallowing it in gulps, so that tumbler remained untouched by her lips. The tumblers were not contaminated by lips. His father, of course, sipped the liquid straight through lips. Perhaps she couldn't lift herself well enough, and that's why she was drinking coffee with the lips touching the tumbler. Grandmother paused after drinking half the coffee and addressing Vijay's mother said, "See, Lakshmi, what a delicious coffee Savitri has made. Just taste it," and handed over the tumbler to mother. It was another habit of father's. He passed on coffee to mother after drinking half of it. Mother dabbed her damp eyes with the sari and took the glass. Grandmother wiped her mouth and said, "Son, Kapoor of Atlantic property dealers told me that we could get 11.5 lakh if we sold DDA flat that had been allotted to us recently. Sell it if you get 11 lakh. Perhaps grandmother knew about allotment of DDA flat through Hersey, but how could she know prevalent market price? Father used to say that was the market price of the flat, but how could she know the name of state agency and its owner? There would be no chance of her knowing these details. She didn't know English, and her memory to remember English name or word was nil. What Savitri said now must be true. It's not grandmother speaking. It must be his father. His soul seemed to have entered the body of his grandmother. He did not believe the other day when people rumored Ganesh idols were drinking milk, just be blind superstition. He told himself, but when he went and offered milk to idols of Seva family, he was stumped. The milk in the spoon evaporated, so he held it to Ganesha's mouth. Where did the milk go? If it was illusion, why didn't this phenomenon recur next day or any other day after that? No doubt his father spirit speaking through the grandmother. Grandma was pleading with Savitri, "You beat the children unnecessarily. Don't beat them." With tearful eyes, Savitri replied, "Yes, father-in-law, I won't." And the word "beat them" merged in her sob. "Don't cry, please. Why are you mourning? I am very happy and peaceful here. Death is not the end of life." Father, brother has performed all after death rite. He also going to Kashi to immerse ashes in river Ganga. Are you not happy? Yes, I am happy. After some time, I will have to go to higher world. Any other rite you want to be performed? No. He has done and is doing whatever has to be done. Appease my soul. I have been watching all the goings on myself, said the grandmother. Vijay recalled what sister Pankajam has told him. She had arrived here late. "Brother, while I was coming here by train, I saw image of father in vision, and I myself saw the scene of your talk, taking father's body in a van for cremation. Father then narrated to me all the details of last rite. I saw who were sitting beside you, and the details visuals he described matched the real happening perfectly." Grandmother was talking on. "Son, I need not tell you to look after your mother, sister, and children. I am happy to God to bestow happiness on all of you. But as talking to you was necessary, I troubled this old lady. I will never trouble her again," said grandmother. Grandmother closed her eyes and sometime opened them as if she was awakening from a deep slumber. "What's this, Vijay? I am lying in your lap. I seem to have gone into good sleep," said grandmother, getting up. Vijay went to Varanasi and immersed his father's ashes in river Ganga. Then he went back to Vijayawada, complete rest of his rites and holding the big feast in due course he returned to Delhi. It was midsummer, and one day someone knocked the door of flat belonging to Narayan Rao in Mayur Bihar Phase 2. Narayan Rao's son Murthy was ill and had admitted in the hospital. Narayan Rao and his wives were away in the hospital attending to their son. Their daughter-in-law Renu was home alone. Hearing the knock, she wondered why the visitor was not ringing the bell. And there was no power failure either. Renu opened the door, and what she saw was so shocking that she slammed the door shut and ran inside with her heart beating like battle drum. How it is possible? The question kept ringing in her ear. This was what happened. She opened the door and she saw Sastri standing at the door. Oh my god. Though it was summer, he appeared in winter dress with his customary red shawl wrapped around his shoulder and asked, "How is Murthy, daughter?" She was so taken aback by a dead man's appearing before her and speaking that she closed the door and raced inward. The experience shook her so much that it took some days for her to become normal again. Sastri's spirit didn't give up and made another bid to know the welfare of his friend's son. It was dead of a night. In hospital, Murthy was on the bed in dazed condition as a result of heavy medication. He was half asleep and there was nobody around. Suddenly, a figure in red shawl approached him. Oh no. How could anyone enter without opening the door? He wondered, and the figure near him, he saw it. It was Sastri, his father's friend. He had been told that Sastri has breathed his last in Vijayawada. Then how is he here? That too in red shawl in May. Didn't his son go to Vijayawada to perform his last rite? After returning, he had also came to see Murthy in hospital. Before he could express his astonishment, the figure said, "Murthy, how are you, my son?" Murthy could hardly speak. He kept staring at the apparition with lips quivering, and then he mustered strength to let out a scream. "Sister!" By the time sister came running, the figure has disappeared. "That was a ghost of Sastri's sister. I saw," he mumbled as the sister filled his pulse. "Nothing to worry, Murthy. You are all right. You need good sleep," said the nurse, handing over a tranquilizer and a glass of water. The last I have heard Sastri's after-death appearance was when my son-in-law's father, C.S.S. Rao, who was a great friend of Sastri, told me that Sastri's spiritual visitation were continuing. He had no details. That was the story of the ghost who has knocked a door and paid visit to a patient in hospital apparently. What are your thoughts? Can it happen? Stay tuned for the next one. See you next Friday. And yes, there will be next ghost story. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe, comment. And yes, have a good night. Thank you.